Hello, my name is Keshwani. That's K-E-S-H-W-A-N-I, Keshwani. We are here because we want to prepare for SAT. We have been solving SAT math problems out of this book here, the official SAT study guide. If you do not own this book already, purchase one immediately. You're going to need it. The problem that we are about to solve is the one that you will find on page number 424. Page 424, and today is our lesson number 15. Lesson number 15. Each exam has 3 sections in it, 3 math sections in each, and we have been doing each section in 5 videos, in 5 days. This being lesson number 15, that tells us today is our last video, the last problem in the first exam. We'll start exam number 2 on day number 16. We'll finish with it on day 30 and so on and so forth. Do you understand? Let's take a look at it. This is the last question on a scale of 1 through 16. This one is classified as number 16 for a reason. It is a nasty one. It's a hellish one. It says that we have a function here, n of t, which is something like this, at t squared over 2 minus 2t over 20t plus k. This is the relationship apparently between the number of bees in a hive. I believe that's what it is. There are 100-day period when the number of bees in a certain hive, there you go, and this is a relationship between the time and the number of bees in a hive. You substitute the day number here, for example, if you put in t equal to 3, use 9 divided by 2 minus 20 times 3 plus a 3, and it will give you the number of bees in that hive. But apparently, of course, it takes a few days before it gets into positive territory. But it models the number of bees in a hive. The question simply is, if this relationship is valid between 0 and 99, there are 100 days between 0 and 99. The question is, on what number day was the number of bees in the hive the same as it was on day number 10? So we know day number 10, that's the t part, t equals 10. We cannot just substitute t equal to 10 in this thing and figure out how many bees there are, because there is a constant here. Oh, I left out a constant, which is why I was getting a negative number. See, for example, on the third day, the number of bees that we will have is 9 over 2. First of all, you cannot have 4.5 bees, minus 20 times 3, which is negative 60, plus a k. That tells us, first of all, see, this is 60 minus 4.5, which is 55.5. First of all, you cannot have half a bee, and secondly, it's a negative 55. You can't have negative 55 bees, and particularly you can't have negative 55.5 bees. That part is because of the fact that there is also a k that's to be added, that's the constant. And apparently that k must be some number 0.5, because that's how we're going to take care of this 0.5. Or maybe it is not, who knows. So in which case you round it to the nearest digit. But anyway, that's where the k is. And without the value of the k, we cannot figure out the number of bees on any day. But we are told that the number of bees in this hive is the same as it was on number of bees on, or they're asking us on what day was the number of bees in the hive the same as it was on day number 10. On day number 10, this is what we have. On day number 10, we replace the t by 10, and we have 100 over 2, because t squared is 100, or if you like it, I can make it simpler. So it's easy to see. T squared over 2 minus 2 times t, which is 10, plus k. Now this quantity, whatever it is, has to be same as on the x day, or tth day, or nth day if you like, whatever you want to call it. Here, of course, it would be better to represent the day with the t, because that's what they're using the variable. They're using t for time, t for the variable of time variable, which is measured in number of days. So now on the tth day, on the tth day, the number of bees that we have in the hive is t squared, which is right here. Oh, it's just right there. Which means the number of bees on the tth day is this quantity. This quantity has to be the same as this quantity right here. Because the number of bees on the 10th day, we are asked, is same as on what other day. So we just have to equate the two. That's it. We just have to equate. This quantity has to equal this quantity. 100 over 2 minus 20 times 10 plus the k. That's it. Now that is the hurdle that most people will have trouble getting over. Once you cross this bridge, the rest is easy. The very first thing we notice is that we have a positive k here and a positive k here. Immediately we realize that k in this scenario plays no role. If you subtract k from both sides, it drops out. And now we're going to have to solve this. Now we're going to have to solve this equation for t. There is no other unknown here. K was the only unknown we dropped out. This is a number, that's a number, and this is a variable with t squared, this is a variable with t. What we're going to end up here is a bloody quadratic equation, which is what makes this question annoying and difficult. Two reasons there that this question is difficult. First reason is that having to realize that this is how you set it up. Setting it up is sometimes the tough part. And once you have set it up, then you have to get over second hurdle, which is having to deal with this nasty quadratic equation. We'll see what happens. So this is 50. So this is t squared minus 2. Sorry, t squared over 2 minus 20t equals t 100 over 2, which is 50, minus 200, which of course is same as negative 150. Let's bring the negative 150 on this side by adding 150 to both sides, and what we end up is t squared over 2 minus 20t plus 150 equals 0. We have to get rid of this t from the bottom because we want to write the quadratic equation in standard form. Let's multiply the entire equation by 2. So if you multiply the entire equation by 2, what we are essentially doing is this. We go through each term and we multiply it by 2. We take 20t and multiply it by 2. We take our positive 150 and we multiply it by 2. And we take this quantity and we multiply this by 2. And this 2 drops out and we end up with t squared minus 20t times 2 is going to be 40t plus 300. And this has to equal to 0. Because we have brought the 150 on this side. That's it, that's our quadratic equation. We have to solve this quadratic equation to find the values of t. And because it's a quadratic equation, it's going to have two values, it's going to have two roots. We will figure out, we'll see what happens, okay? One of them obviously is going to be negative root, which is not what we're interested in. Let's do it on the top. I'm going to rewrite this equation on the top, and we're going to start our solution from the top. So here's our equation. T squared minus 4t plus 30 equals 0. Now watch what happens. There are two ways we can solve this problem. There are two ways we can tackle this thing. I don't know about you, but I'm not really keen about either using the quadratic formula or doing factorization. I'm not keen on either of those approaches. So I'm going to cheat. I'm going to show you how to cheat. What you do is you take one of the answer choices, put it in this equation, and see what happens. Let's just see what happens. I have no way of knowing, really. Sometimes that approach does not work because you keep trying and nothing works, and sometimes you get lucky. But I'm going to try it anyway. Let's see what happens. It can't be that bad, can it? And I like to do, when I'm trying to cheat like this, I like to start from the middle, the happy medium, just to get some idea, because a lot of the times you can tell if the number is too large or too small. So if you start from the happy medium, a lot of the times actually it gives you the directions which way to move. Let's start with C. C is 40. Watch what happens. What I'm doing essentially is that we are pretending that answer is 40, which we do not know. Let's pretend. I cannot pretend because I don't know how to spell pretend. Let's pretend t equals 40. So let's just see what happens, okay? I'm not going to do every single calculation here, but step by step because it will be too long here. You just have to know that t squared is 1600. 40 times 40 is same as 4 times 4, and you stick 2 zeros at the end. 4 times 4 is 16, and then 40 times 40, 4 times 4 is 16, and then you got 2 zeros here, this is 1600. And then remember, this is 40 also. This is t is 40, so again we get 40 times 40, So it's another 1600. You can stop right there. You don't have to. In the real exam, if I were taking the real exam, I wouldn't have wasted my time to. First of all, I wouldn't have wasted my time at all to write it out. You simply look at the bloody thing, and you realize that this is 1600 and this is 1600. They're going to kill each other. They're going to kill each other, and you're going to be left with this 300. You can't be left with 300 because it has to equal 0. The answer is not 40. Let's try 50, shall we? Let's try 50. You see, sometimes you cannot tell which way to move, and sometimes you can tell. This one you really can't tell which way to move. Let's try 50, just to make you understand. I'm going to pick up speed now, okay? 50 squared is 2,500, and this is going to be 40 times 50 is 2,000. That's a negative. That's a positive 500. A positive 500 and a 300 is not going to end up. It's not going to add up to 0. It's not going to add up to 0. This is not the answer. What was it? 50 was it? That was a D. D is not the answer. Let's try E. E. We shouldn't have to try E. You just look at it. It's going to get. Situation is going to get worse. It's not going to get better because by the time you put 60 here, this number is going to get larger and larger. It went from 1600 to 2500. We're not going to get 0 because these numbers are not rising as much. This is constant, doesn't rise at all. By the time you put 60, now we're looking at 3600 minus 2400. You see, this is a very large number. Plus, we have a 300. That's not going to work. Somehow we have to get this quantity equal to negative 300. If this quantity becomes negative 300, then we have a negative 300 and a positive 300 giving us a 0. But this one does not equal 0. Answer is not E. We have to try one more time. Why one more time? Because if the answer turns out to be B, then it's B. If it's not B, then it has to be E. We don't have to do anything. Let's try B. B says 30. Let's try T equal to 30. Now, I'm going to rewrite it here so you can see it. It has to equal to 0. So 30 squared is 900. Now that's a good sign. That's not a very large number. Minus 30 times 40. 30 times 40 is a negative 1200. And this was 30 squared. So that's the 900. Negative 1200, there you go. You see, that's what we needed. We needed a negative 300 here. We needed a negative 300 out of the first two terms because negative 300 plus a 300 gives us 0. Voila. So like I said, in reality, in theory, of course, when I say we're going to try it out, all 5 answer choices, see which one works, yes, in theory, that's what you are doing. But in practice, you don't actually do it out like a, you don't waste your time. You just look at it quickly and analyze it. And you realize that there is no way in hell you're going to get a 0 out of it. 60 or 40 was too large. 50 is going to be too large, obviously. 60 is even larger because this number is getting larger and larger. So you should have tried a smaller number. The answer is B. It works. That's it. We are done. Now what I'm going to do from this point on is purely for the learning purposes and for those people who are hell-bent on doing this question, and I cannot finish my sentence because I need both my hands to finish the sentence. The part that we are about to do is only for those people who are hell-bent on doing the problem properly. For them, this is cheating. They don't want to cheat. They want to do it properly. It is not something that I would do in a real exam, but I'm going to do it for your benefit if you insist on it, if you're hell-bent on it, as I said, or if you just want to learn how to do it in a proper way, in the algebraic way. So let's do it. We have to erase everything. But as far as I'm concerned, if I were taking the real exam, this thing was long done. The answer is 30. So we're looking for two numbers whose product has to equal whose product has to equal positive 300 and whose sum has to equal, they have to add up to negative 40. That's another hurdle. Trying to think of two such numbers is another hurdle. But if you can think of those two numbers, those are the factors we are looking for. So if you like, you could actually pause this video for a few seconds and see if you can think of two factors such that when we multiply them together, we get 300, but when we add them together, we get a negative 40. Do you know what those two numbers are? The numbers are negative 30 and a negative 40. A negative 30 and a negative 40, a negative 30 and a negative, sorry, a negative 30 and a negative 10, when we multiply them we get 300, and a negative times negative becomes positive. And when you add them, a negative 30 plus a negative 40 gives you negative 10, negative 40. Negative 30 plus a negative 10 gives you negative 40. Those are the factors. So here we have t squared minus 30t minus 10t plus 300 equals 0. I'm going to pick up speed now. What do you find common between these two terms? This is t squared, this is t. The common factor is t. Take it out common, you get t minus a 30, because you see t times t gives us our t squared, and t times negative 30 gives us negative 30t. Now look at this one and this one. 10t and a 300. What do we find common there? We find 10 common. Negative 10 is common. Let's take it out common. We end up with t in the first, this term here, because you see negative 10 times t is going to give us back our negative 10t. And then here, because we have taken out negative, this number has to be negative, because negative times negative is going to give us our positive. And what number? 30 divided by 10 is what? 30 divided by 10 is, 300 divided by 10 is 30. Equals to 0. Now we look at this part and this part, and we realize that 30 minus t is common. Let's take out 30 minus t. And here we are left with t, and here we are left with negative 10, and it equals to 0. If the product of two numbers is 0, then either one of those two numbers is 0, one of those two quantities is 0, or they are both 0. So here, either t minus 30 is equal to 0, or t minus 10 is equal to 0. Oh, what do you know? We have two positive roots. That implies that t is equal to 30 and, or rather, or t is equal to 10. There you go. What do you know? Which is precisely what the problem told us. What do you know? That is exactly what they told us in the problem. They told us the number of bees in this hive is going to be the exact same number as it was on day number 10. We just found out, the question was on what day the number of bees in this hive is going to be exact same as the number of bees on day number 10. So apparently the number of bees in this hive is increasing. It reaches a certain point and then it begins to go down again. Perhaps they die down or they fly away, whatever it is. And that's it. And if you plug in 30 in there, you get the same quantity as you will get for t, for 10. They're both going to equal to 0, this thing. 100 minus 400, because if you put in 10 here, 100 minus 400 plus 300, 100 plus 300 is 400, and the minus 400 is going to give you 0. And we already saw that when we put in 30, it works, it's 0. So that was the classical way, the algebraic way. Of course, there is one more method that we could have solved this question, which is by using quadratic formula. The problem that I have is that I can never remember the bloody thing. I can never remember the quadratic formula. I hate using it. So this is it. But like I said, this is not what I would do in the real exam. I would cheat. I would just pick one of the answer choices, put it back in there. It only takes a few seconds. Trust me, if you're concentrating, it only takes a few seconds to see which one works. Do you understand? I'll see you tomorrow. Bye now.